It was a hell of a time, man. It was a hell of a time to be able to not even play people online. Like we're so connected by the internet that we could literally play someone in a completely different country. That happens now. You know,
No,
you
we
got
can't.
and not just one console. When Call of Duty rolled out, the fact that you could be on a PlayStation, a PC, or an Xbox, and all of you can cross play. That's amazing. That's where we are in technology now. Now, I would love to get to the game that's on the front of my list, which is a fighting game. It's not Mortal Kombat, but one of the first games I remember getting for my Super Nintendo, Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2. And the cover arts it just stood out so much because I think it's Ryu or Ken fall. Yeah, it's Ryu falling, and then Blanca doing that move, and Chun-Li with the little things underneath her leg that's supposed to be doing her little kicks. Yeah, man. Street Fighter 2.
Though, now that I'm really looking at it, she don't look like prepared for that.
I forgot. This cover made me realize how huge Blanca was.
Really was. He was a beast. He was a monster. But
I really forgot how huge this dude was.
It took me so long to really beat this game with a character because the boss was no joke. Bison was not to be toyed with. You had to really figure out how to beat him. You had to figure out the right footsies, the right counters. Just doing Hadoukens from one end of the screen to the other wasn't gonna help you.
So let's talk about that because that right there is really of key importance, and I want to bring that up because people don't realize just even how technical games were back then. Like
back then,
you played Sekiro, old punk ass game that just is impossible to play without having 83 years of samurai practice before playing this shit. In this game, you had to have a certain strategy in order to beat Bison. And I'll never forget my older brother was having to play with Colonel Guile. And the thing was, he could not do the sonic boom move too many times. And he literally had it down to a science to where how he would have to dodge, how he would have to flip, and how he had to kick, and that you couldn't go from behind because then he'll teleport and then be able to block anything that you throw at him.
Yeah, man.
He had this thing down to a science, and it took him like a week to beat Bison.
Listen, man. The characters in Street Fighter 2, I feel like this was the pinnacle of it. When Street Fighter 3 rolled out, I really didn't jump into it, but I remember playing Street Fighter 2 so much. I remember Ryu and Ken, of course, they're like shadow characters, but then we look at the lineup. There's Guile, there's Vega, there's Sagat, there's the Haslem, there's Zangief, Chun-Li. Crazy to think there's only one girl character in this whole game. I just realized that. Wow. Even back then. There's only one. Sagat versus Blanca. And Blanca's shocking special move was so hard to do. Ridiculous. It was not easy.
Blanca was the biggest disappointment in Street Fighter history because his design is dope, but I hated playing as him. He was
trash, man.
If he would have had moves like Eddie and Tekken, it would have been phenomenal. Or like Saber Wolf and Killer Instinct, that would have been fire.
Big facts, man.
For real though.
But who was your main that you went to in Street Fighter 2? Because I know mine.
Ryu,
always,
man. I tried to switch over to Ken, and then Vega always was so cool to me because he was, I believe he was from Spain, and I believe he was like what are the bulls? Matador. He had the whole Matador type of aesthetic to him.
Yep.
And he could jump off the wall, which was like the only character that could do that. And I was like, yo, that's dope. When I figure out how to do that, I'm gonna be able to tear Kadeem up. Never could figure it out. And then Vega's mask could fall off, and then his claws could fall off, and he wasn't cool anymore. Which was kind of cool. It was a cool thing to add to a character, especially during this time. But yeah, Ryu was for sure my main.
I went backwards with Street Fighter because when it came down to Street Fighter Mortal Kombat, I was always Mortal Kombat. It had blood, fatalities. You know what I mean? I was like the art of Street Fighter, but preference, I was always Mortal Kombat. It wasn't until Street Fighter Alpha that I really started playing it, and I was a big fan of Guy, the dude who can jump with the long legs. He can jump off the screen. That was his name, right, Guy?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was Guy.
He's not in most games. But then I sort of started appreciating this game, and I like Sagat and Sagat and Ryu.
Sagat.
Sound like a sir, you fucking
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget.
Mine was Dalsim.
Yeah,
Dalsim
man.
was my guy, man. Long range, could throw fireballs and stuff like that. Man, my brother hated playing me in that shit every time. He
I
was just
didn't
like,
like
"Yo,
Dalsim.
you didn't like him?
Mm-mm.
Nobody does. Like if you play with him, people just don't like him when after you play with them. They're just like,
Stretchy witch doctor. I didn't see the appeal.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't understand why he was there.
when they redesigned him for one of the new Street Fighter games, they actually gave him a turban. They gave him a beard. It was
Sexy Dalsim.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was Street Fighter 5. They gave him that whole aesthetic, bro. They just fell into it. They were just like, yeah, we know y'all know who he is.
Yeah, but the thing even for him, okay, so like Sagat, Dalsim, and then and Bison, none of them had eyes. They were always white. And I couldn't figure out, like, okay, so is he a bad guy?
Bison?
Bison, he didn't have no eyes. Like it was no pupils.
Yeah, they ain't got no pupils.
No
He
irises.
didn't have any pupils.
Yeah, I thought he was a bad guy.
He was.
Okay, boom, but then
Dalsim
Sagat-
also did.
But exactly.
I
So
think Dalsim actually was bad before he switched over.
oh wow.
I think he was because remember too, like isn't Cammy like bad? Cammy works for Bison.
Cammy works for Shadowloo. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but
Cammy's bad for a whole nother reason.
Oh
That
god,
too.
Cammy.
That too.
Cammy bad.
Those are those scars on her legs, or are they paint? What is it?
Scars.
Don't care.
Don't give a
If you
damn.
think about
Facts.
it, like they
Don't
have the
care.
same, Dragon Ball Z got the same ones, like on Nappa and stuff with the X.
Shout out to Chris
Don't
Brown.
make that connection, man.
I got to give a shout out to Chris Brown because he has Cammy tattooed on him, and I saw it and I was like, "You got Cammy tattooed on you?"
Why?
Yeah,
Is he main as her or something?
he's got no. He don't play Street Fighter. I know he didn't play no video games like that, but for sure has Cammy tattooed on him. Couldn't believe
Why?
it when I saw it.
I don't understand.
Couldn't
I would
believe it when I
tattoo
saw
Laura
it. He has
Croft.
a Cammy tattoo, bro.
So it would at least be like the first video game crush, like Laura Croft or something.
Right. So let me ask y'all this: as far as Street Fighter goes, what fighting style would you want? If you can embody anybody's fighting style, powers and all, who would you choose?
Ooh.
I always like Guile's fighting style. It was very just like up here.
Bro. All
Oh,
here.
that goddamn Sonic Boom shit.
Boom!
That was tight. But I mean, Ryu's fighting style is just hard. The spinny kick thing has always been my favorite move in Street Fighter.
So I would have to go with Ken's because you bring up Ryu's spinning kick, but Ken's was the one where he would throw it and then the last kick would come over like an overhead and knock people down. I always like Ryu's spin, and then he definitely had more of the fire-based attacks as well. And then
I didn't like Ken's moveset.
Huh?
I didn't really like Ken's moveset.
It's the same as Ryu's. It's just they're tweaked a little bit. They're tweaked to be as his own thing. But Guile's low sweep was always weird to me because he could do two sweeps.
Yeah.
Guile's was like one, and then he would come through with the other leg. And that was
right.
What?
And you
The
needed
only one
that.
with the
And
double
you needed
sweep.
that to beat Bison too.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I gotta go with Ryu. I mean, excuse me. I'm going with Ken Masters for sure.
Man, I gotta go with Akuma, man.
Yeah.
Akuma.
Akuma's very similar to Ryu, though.
He's just, about that shit.
The Dark Hidu.
That was your favorite character, Akuma?
Yeah, because I like that his was more like he had more of a fearless type of fighting style. Like he wasn't hindered by anything. Like I always felt like Ryu held back for some reason and Akuma didn't. Like Akuma, when he fought to whoop your ass.
That was his whole aesthetic. This whole vibe was like, yo, I'm out here only searching for a challenge. And it ain't for just like for fun, bro. I'm trying to off you.
Right.
So I can be the number one fighter on Earth.
And Goku does the same thing. It's just he does it in such a playful way that no one says anything. So
Well, Goku goes planet to planet and Akuma goes game to game. He's like, all right, Tekken, what y'all doing in here?
What y'all said? Come here,
done with
Hachi.
that Soul Calibur. What up?
Hey, Hachi had to catch all of the Akuma feet.
Akuma is going to mess around and end up in God of War and get hands put on him by Kratos. It's going to take Kratos for Akuma to be like, let me not go into every game.
Right. You know what? Let me go back. Matter of fact, let me go see what these little Nintendo cats doing. Get back and get
Bring them in Smash? Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
All right. So this is gonna come out of left field. I'm telling y'all right now. You're not expecting this. I wasn't expecting this. But then I had to really think about it. What was some like a game that really helped mold my mind and what got me really through gaming?
Listen, Khleo, you said Altered Beast was a good game, so nothing's gonna surprise me now.
we're not even gonna have this discussion live on camera anymore about
Hey,
you
stop
and,
this. Hey, stop
and,
dissing Altered
and
Beast, bro.
Pat
All right, you
having
got
this
one more
thing
time.
against Altered
Yeah,
Beast.
I got one
It
more
was a
time.
great concept. If you would have played it back then when it was actually out, you would have known how great it was.
I got one more time.
Pat, did you enjoy it?
Moving on.
Not a great game, but yeah, keep going.
Moving on. The next game on my list of games that define me is Pac-Man. As simple as that. Pac-Man.
Come on.
Arcade. This was an arcade classic. Pac-Man is one of the most legendary characters in all of gaming. And look how his game was. Think about it. It's a maze. You got 4 ghosts chasing you. You got little power-ups in each corner that make you, the hunter instead of the hunted during the levels. I've always been a fan of the Pac-Man video games. You got to play strategically. You got to plan out and plot out your next moves. You got to keep an eye on all of these ghosts getting ready to come to you. Now, for some odd reason, I don't know why exactly, Mrs. Pac-Man was more successful than the original Pac-Man. Don't know how it happened.
Differently, didn't it?
Not that I recall.
No, it didn't. It really didn't.
did
The only
not.
difference was the ghosts were different. That was about it. The ghosts were just a little bit fatter, but it was literally the same concept.
And she had a red bow.
No, it says critics for its improvements to the original gameplay and a female protagonist, some labeling it as superior to Pac-Man.
How? I wonder why. I got to talk about the ghosts. Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde. There they go. Look at the little
Clyde.
guy.
Why did he break the rhyme scheme?
Who knows? He's orange. Who knows? He had to get him up out of here. They was like, you know what? Name his ass Clyde. And throw him out there. Throw him into the game, man.
This sounds like a bad group of henchmen that decide to go out on their own, and it's not going well.
I've really always enjoyed this game. I could play this game today and really try to put my all into it and really try to beat the game, man. Now, I don't know how many levels there are in Pac-Man. I've heard that there's it's unlimited, and if you go to a certain extent, though, it will freeze, even on the actual arcade.
It's
cabinets.
256. 256 is that number.
Are you serious?
256 is that number.
256 levels?
Yeah, is where Pac-Man will stop locking up. Yeah, 256 is the.
And then it locks up, right?
It locks up. Yeah.
Yo,
that's crazy.
I'm not sure.
What do you mean it locks up? You can't win.
So
no, it stops.
It runs. It pretty much runs out of memory. Is pretty much what happens. Obviously, back in the day, they didn't have enough RAM. Like this didn't have enough RAM to keep going. Like I'm not sure if you guys noticed if you guys download the new Pac-Man, it's literally called Pac-Man 256. Like that's what they start naming a lot of the games now because of that old thing that the game would lock up after that time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Always been a fan of Pac-Man, man, especially within the arcades because you always saw Pac-Man sitting next to Galaga. And those two go hand in hand to me when I think of gaming. Galaga's another one. I know we don't have any clips to bring up right now, but Galaga for sure is one of those as well that stands out to me as one of the games that define me. Because when I first found out about when you can let the enemy take your ship and then it rotates and now he's on their side and then you shoot the ship that captured yours and then now you got 2 shooters to blast these aliens, bruh, I was like, this is the most incredible cheat hack thing I've ever seen.
Yep.
I'll never forget that, man.
Yep.
I'm looking at a side by side of like the actual differences, and there really aren't a lot. It's like the maze colors are different.
We're all the same, bro.
There's more mazes. It says Pac-Man has 1 maze and Mrs. Pac-Man has 4 mazes, none of which duplicate anything from the original Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It says that there's different. Each maze has 240 dots in the original, and the new one has varying. The ghost movement is a little bit more random. Like it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is wild. I don't get it.
And then each ghost was specific. Like they had a specific like formula to how they moved. I remember reading about that before. I should have pulled it up before we got on live today. But each ghost has a specific formula to how they move on the map. One chases you, one only goes clockwise, one only goes counterclockwise. So there's a way to like trick each ghost to where you just run through it once you figure out the formula.
It's crazy. Like I feel like Pac-Man is low-key everyone knows it's the grandfather of all games, but I didn't really realize how much design was taken. Like if you see how Pac-Man is built, you can almost see like a lot of other video game mascots are somewhat built like that. You know, like Nintendo has a lot of, between putting eyes on the ghosts, you know what I mean? Like Nintendo has a lot of things that they stole, like, no, I guess just was inspired by. Like Pac-Man is kind of just like the perfect game if you think about it.
Oh yeah, it is, man.
Get there. Oh, he didn't
I
get
know,
there.
right? I know everybody just got like real distracted, like, yo,
He
like,
didn't get there. I wanted him to get it.
You know what I think it could have been? This Pac-Man isn't really like humanized. It's just like a shape. Whereas Mrs. Pac-Man had an eye, had lipstick, had a bow. You know what I mean? It really seemed like a character. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it being.
Well, that too, and the original one, he was trying to chase her. He was trying to grab her.
Boom.
And stuff like that. He was trying to get his wife. The ghosts were chasing her. And so that was like the original story. But for some reason, I think too, another thing was that there wasn't really like a female presence in there. And then like so many people started like liking it, especially in Japan. Because at first people liked Pac-Man, but then when they saw the woman, people like really took towards it. Because there's like comic books of like Pac-Man. Like a lot of people don't know that and stuff like that. Like if you see like the original arcade machine and like how they're drawn, like with like the ghosts have like legs and arms and stuff like that. And so it comes from like a comic book that they used to make of Pac-Man. And so she kind of became like this huge success.
Yeah, man.
So that probably could have been the reason that they took it over. But that is going to be like, I want y'all to keep in mind about that game because I have a segment that we're going to add into this a little bit later that I want y'all to think about. So just keep that in mind.
Shout out to Mrs. Pac-Man, ladies taking over for the 99 and the 2000.
Yeah, man.
Man, eating up all them dots.